After tragically losing their parents in a car accident at a young age, Chris and Claire Redfield developed an incredibly close bond. As the two grew into adulthood, Chris joined the Air Force where he would meet Barry Burton, a close family friend to the Redfields. Chris and Barry would later leave the Air Force to serve in the Special Tactics and Rescue Service Team of the Raccoon City Police Department. During this time, Claire was attending a university where she gained an interest in motorcycle customization. She would occasionally visit her brother in Raccoon City to catch up and receive some hand-to-hand combat and firearm training. After the Spencer Mansion incident, Claire would hear nothing from her brother. Not knowing Chris went to Europe to investigate the Umbrella Corporation, she hopped on her motorcycle and headed to Raccoon City to check up on him. Thanks to Chris's training, Claire was able to survive the Raccoon City incident along with RPD rookie Leon Kennedy and the now orphaned Sherry Birkin. Still unaware of her brother's whereabouts, Leon urged Claire to leave them on the outskirts of the dead city and continue her search for Chris.
In the following months, Claire followed Chris's trail, which led her to Umbrella's Paris laboratory. Believing that Chris was held captive within the facility, she infiltrated the laboratory and walked right into an ambush. While she put up a good fight, Umbrella's near-infinite resources overwhelmed Claire. Upon her capture, she was brought to Rockfort Island, where she would be held in a concentration camp for traitors and enemies of Umbrella. Claire's sentence was short-lived, lasting only a couple of hours. Rodrigo Raval, an Umbrella Security Service employee, released Claire while the island was being consumed by the T-virus. The outbreak was caused by the HCF during their raid on the island. This special operations unit, led by Albert Wesker, was sent by Umbrella's rival company. In order to reunite with Chris, Claire must team up with fellow inmate Steve Burnside and once again enter the world of survival horror.
絶海の孤島に捕らえられ、ゾンビの群れに囲まれ、果たして生き残るチャンスは全てが進化した次世代バイオハザード。君の心臓はついてくれるか？はい、飯。
Welcome back to our Enemy Lore series. Today, we will be covering the final game in the classic era of Resident Evil, Code Veronica. In order to reduce the redundancy of these videos, we will not be covering the zombie dogs, bats, or zombies, as the only new information we gathered from these BOWs is that zombies finally learned how to climb stairs.
To kick things off, we have the Bandersnatch. Named after the fictional creature created by Lewis Carroll, the Bandersnatch is a prototype offshoot of the Tyrant. Those who have the necessary genes to be turned into a Tyrant are small in number, and the development of a Tyrant can be rather expensive. As a response, Umbrella crafted these sickly yellow freaks as a cost-effective alternative. As a result of the cheaper processes used to create these monsters, their left arms suffered extreme degeneration and their faces seemed to have melted into the torso. A Bandersnatch moves very slowly, but can cover great distances thanks to its stretchy right arm. This arm is additionally quite useful in combat, allowing the BOW to grab and crush its prey from far away. Since Rockfort Island doubled as a prison and a training camp for Umbrella's paramilitary, the Bandersnatches were sent there to undergo their final combat data testing with anti-BOW soldiers. Due to the HCF raid, these tests never took place and instead the creatures were released into the live combat setting. Albert Wesker would ultimately obtain the Bandersnatch research data that was used to create the Jabberwock S3 during Operation Javier.
Next, we have the Gulp Worm. This immaculate creature screeches every time it breaches the surface, and it is not irritating at all. Similar to the Bandersnatch, the Gulp Worm was in the prototype stage and was mainly used as a practice subject for anti-BOW unit trainees. Beginning as a simple earthworm, the Gulp Worm has grown large enough to swallow a person whole. Its highly sensitive epidermis senses vibrations made by prey on the ground above, as it sends its significant bulk at blistering speeds to devour its next meal.
Albanoids are the result of salamanders that have been infected with the T-virus. As an infant, the albanoid is rather tadpole-like in appearance and has the ability to generate a mild electric shock. Roughly 10 hours into the albanoid's life, it will undergo metamorphosis and grow into an adult. Fully developed albanoids gain 4 legs that resemble human arms and a much more powerful electric shock. Chris is the only Redfield sibling who encounters an adult albanoid in arguably one of the worst battles in the series. The BOW is found swimming around in a pool of water guarding a key item necessary for progression. Stepping into the pool will cause the creature to send an electric current through the water. Fortunately for us, there is no need to jump in the water because you can walk around the perimeter and shoot at it. It is pretty dumb.
It wouldn't be a classic RE game without a tyrant. The one that Claire encounters in this game is designated T078. He is a mass-produced clone from the T103 models we covered in our RE2 video. Notably, these clones were not outfitted with any power limiters, which led to the T078 mutating club-like hands. It is uncertain if the other clones that were manufactured developed similar club-like mutations. T078 was delivered to Rockfort Island in a mission supervised by the Grim Reaper himself, Hunk. The Tyrant saw combat use when Alfred released the beast to prevent his prisoners from escaping the island. It would eventually meet its demise at the hands of Claire after plummeting from an airborne C-130 Hercules.
The moths encountered in the Antarctic base have mutated as a result of prolonged exposure to the T-virus. Unlike the giant moths encountered in RE2, their wings have grown in perfect proportion to their bodies, granting the insects incredible maneuverability. Using this mobility, the moths spread their poisonous dust throughout the air and attach their eggs to nearby host bodies.
The Black Widow is the latest development into Umbrella's arachnid-based weaponry. They are the result of infusing spiders of the Latrodectus genus with the T-virus. In usual T-virus fashion, these spiders grew in size and aggression. Compared to the tarantula-based BOWs encountered in earlier titles, the Black Widow is faster and more poisonous. They are also just a bit more creepy in our opinion. Similar to the Black Tiger in RE1, one of the Widow spiders reacted more severely to the T-virus and grew significantly more than the others. It creeps around underneath the icy floor of the package sorting room until you inevitably have to release it. These 8-legged freaks were planned to be distributed to a number of Umbrella facilities from the Antarctic base, but escaped their crates and settled in the facility during the outbreak.
The Hunter 2, also referred to as the Improved Hunter, is an enhanced model of the Hunter BOW developed by Umbrella's rival company. They were engineered from classified Umbrella data and prototype Hunter Alpha embryos stolen by Wesker during the Spencer Mansion incident. At first glance, these hunters look identical to their past iterations, but if you look closely, you'll notice these models have a green cybernetic eye that works in tandem with automated surveillance devices called Seekers. When these devices detect a target, they relay their location to the improved hunters so that they can dispose of said target.
Sweepers are variations of the improved hunters and are more identifiable with their glowing purple veins. This hunter model's purpose is to comb the areas of previously attacked locations to mop up any straggling survivors. Of all the different types of hunters, this is the only model to have poison claws.
In 1983, Dr. Alexia Ashford created a mutant species of ant via the DNA-altering effects of the T. Veronica virus. The virus made the ants grow in size and in aggression. Unlike the vast majority of T-virus-infected creatures, the ants remained fertile and were able to propagate their species instead of relying on alternative methods. In the 15 years of Alexia's absence, the ants flourished and built a towering anthill.
It never says where Steve is from, so we're just gonna say he's Canadian.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
When Steve was 17 years old, his father had been caught selling Umbrella's sensitive BOW research on the black market. Umbrella would not tolerate a breach of data like this and decided to make an example of the Burnsides. Steve and his father were imprisoned on Rockfort Island while his mother was gunned down in cold blood. Feeling betrayed by his father, Steve found it difficult to place his trust in others.
This thing is a lot more reliable than any person.
Than people?
While in prison, Steve's father was selected to be an Umbrella test subject and the two would never speak again. During HCF's raid on the island, Steve was able to escape with the help of Claire Redfield. Despite being able to perfectly pilot a plane for takeoff, Captain Steve is unable to disable the autopilot and the pair crash land at Umbrella's Antarctic facility. Steve eventually gets captured by Alexia and used as a guinea pig for the T. Veronica virus. Steve's body rejected the virus, and just like our incredible green friend, Monster Steve is unable to differentiate between friend or foe. Steve wields a giant axe with the strength to smash through stone and metal. As Claire is crushed by a giant Alexia pod tentacle, Steve is able to briefly regain his consciousness to save his one true love. The tentacle is pretty pissed about this and smashes the monster Steve into a nearby wall. The fatally wounded Steve reverts to his natural human form to breathe his last words.
I love you.
R.I.P. Steve. I hope you're swimming in a big maple syrup ocean up there.
Damn, girl.
I'm gonna bust you. Oh yeah, that felt good.
In the 19th century, Veronica Ashford was respected for her intelligence and stunning beauty.
So hot in the face.
By the age of 10, Veronica was able to speak various different languages and graduated college with a number of degrees. Growing into adulthood, Veronica was ennobled with the title of Countess Ashford. This title would be passed down to her descendants, and a tradition was built where upon ennoblement, the new earl or countess would be given an expensive gift from their butler. Upon Veronica's death, her body was embalmed and buried on the family's estate on Rockfort Island. Her remains would later be sampled from in the 20th century by the 6th family earl, Dr. Alexander Ashford. With these samples, Alexander intended to create a surrogate child capable of continuing Umbrella co-founder Edward Ashford's virology research. This would ensure Ashford family influence over Umbrella and deny control to their rival, Dr. Oswell E. Spencer. During the experiment, an unexpected anomaly occurred where the clone zygote split into two. From the DNA of the Ashford matriarch, Alfred and Alexia were born. All research pertaining to the creation of Alfred and Alexia would be hidden away by Alexander within a secret chamber at the Antarctic facility. While Alfred would inherit slightly above average intelligence, Alexia was gifted with a brain on par with Veronica's. Using this gift, Alexia became the chief senior researcher at Umbrella's Antarctic facility at the age of 10. While working for Umbrella, she created the T. Veronica virus by combining the progenitor virus with the unique DNA of a queen ant. Obsessed with her creation, Alexia became determined to inject the virus within herself and release it onto the world. Upon hearing these ambitions, Alexander developed a powerful anti-BOW weapon known as the Linear Launcher as a precaution in case Alexia's plan came to fruition. At this time, Alfred developed an interest in accessing their father's secret chamber in the Antarctic facility. With Alexia's help, he was able to gain access to the room, and the two discovered the truth of their creation. Disgusted by their father, the twins decided to administer the T. Veronica virus within him. As a result, Alexander's body rejected the virus and mutated into a horrendous monster with tentacles and an exposed chest cavity. Deeming their father a failed experiment, Alfred and Alexia chained Alexander up in a totally different secret room within the Antarctic base. Love for secret rooms must be genetic in the Ashford family. For 15 years, workers at the facility would be haunted by the noises made by Alexander in this room, dubbing him Nosferatu.
Nosferatu!
Using the data collected from her father, Alexia discovered a way to safely inject the T. Veronica virus into herself. She learned that by subjecting herself to a 15-year-long cryogenic sleep, the ultra-low temperatures would make the virus mature safely in her body. In December of 1983, Alexia trusted Alfred to watch over the Ashford family name while she entered the cryostatic state.
In the years of Alexia's absence, Alfred would gain employment under Umbrella, but was not high enough in the ranks to have any say in company politics. At Rockfort Island, Alfred would construct a concentration camp for Umbrella enemies and a training facility for anti-BOW soldiers. He would also build a private residence on the island where he hoped to live with Alexia once she woke. The pressure of holding up the Ashford family name alone eventually led Alfred to lose his sanity. In his grief for his missing sister, Alfred created a dual personality based on Alexia. Once the big reveal occurs that Alfred has a split personality, the game grants you with some of the funniest cutscenes Resident Evil has to offer.
Alfred! You cross-dressing freak!
As Alfred's mind further eroded, he became increasingly more cruel. He would often randomly kill or torture prisoners for no reason. One of the prison camp's doctors would receive support from Alfred in a number of his sadistic experiments. This doctor grew to fear Alfred, as he knew his life would never truly be safe around the 7th Earl Ashford. In December of 1998, the HCF attacked Rockfort Island. After releasing the T-virus and subjecting the island to a series of carpet bombings, Rockfort Island entered the world of survival horror. Alfred armed himself with a sniper rifle for protection and mistakenly believed Claire to be an agent of the HCF. After the two encounter each other at Alfred's private residence, Alfred releases the T-078 and initiates the facility's self-destruct sequence. Doing a Top Gun, Alfred takes the highway to the danger zone right over to the Antarctic Base. It is at this base where Alfred finally meets his demise. He either succumbs to his injuries after falling into a pit or is strangled by Alexia when she wakes up from her slumber. 15 years of sleep granted Alexia full control over the Veronica virus, allowing her to retain full intellectual capabilities. It also gifted her with a symbiotic relationship to a large plant organism located underneath the Antarctic base. Using the tentacles of this plant, Alexia stopped Claire and Steve from escaping the area. Steve was subsequently imprisoned in the same manner as Alexander and subjected to her own mutant strain of the virus. Alexia's first transformation occurs in an encounter with Wesker and Chris. Even with Wesker's newfound abilities, Alexia easily proves her superiority. Using her blood as a flammable weapon, she forces Wesker to retreat before Chris knocks her out. In the final battle of the game, Alexia mutates into, well, quite honestly, I don't know how to describe what she mutates into. A tentacle-like creature with 3 holes that birth angry starfish? Yeah, we'll go with that. Alexia's third mutation sees her transform into a giant dragonfly monster invulnerable to gunfire. Lucky for Chris, he didn't need gunfire to finally kill Alexia. All he needed was the weapon developed by her father 2 decades prior. How poetic.
And with that, we have officially covered every enemy found in the classic Resident Evil games. When we first began this series, we had no idea the amount of support it would receive and how much lore we would end up diving our heads into. Thank you so much for watching. Seriously.
If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. We are always cooking up more content and love to see more people discussing the games we love in the comments. Recently, we have been debating what other games we should cover following the format of these videos. What ones would you like to see? Let us know. Until next time, everybody.